Visit us for updates and shows at affinityxtra.co.uk.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Xtra.
Yeah, people, this is the boy here, Roger Moore, and Affinity Xtra, better gospel music of Black Origin, and I'm with my boy, Mr. Margie, here on Affinity Xtra, celebrating ideologies, talking about the unseen world.
The unseen world of political ideology, and dissecting how the ideological spectrum undergirds not only the politics in the UK but around the world. And like he said, I'm Mr. Mark G, and you already know this guy, the CEO, Roger Moore.
Listen, we're going to talk about the Illuminati.
we might get there. We might get there. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Man, Illuminati, New World Order. You know how it goes there, people. And what's the minds behind it?
What are we talking about today, though? Let's just park that. What are we talking about today?
Bro, are we talking about a video that I sent you?
Yeah. So, guys, as you know, currently,
the person that I'm not related to,
the Conservative Party are looking for the next leader to take over the ranks after the last election's defeat to the Labour Party. They're now looking for somebody to take over the previous leader, Keir Starmer. There's two candidates now running. All the other candidates have they've kind of been dropped off, and now it's left to two candidates. On one hand, we got Robert Jenrick, and on the other is Kemi Playing. Kemi. And today we're going to talk about a very sensitive subject. We're going to talk about social justice. I think we're going to watch the video, and I will then dissect to you, I believe, the ideologies and the philosophies that are at play, some that are at conflict. So today, we'll watch the video, I'll ideologically analyze it, and we'll have a Roger reaction. How's that sound?
By the way, this network, I watch it just to hear what the other side thinks.
So you know where he stands. Hopefully, you see that I'm trying to stay neutral, trying to pull my cards very close to my chest. But not him, though. Not him.
I ain't pulling no cards, man. You know what I'm saying? So we got it in there. So yeah. But listen, let's go for it, man. Let's see what the levels.
It's a slightly different start to the usual proceedings here, because I am joined now by the Tory leadership candidate, Kemi Playing. Kemi, thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's great to have you on the show. So, look, many people have you down as the front runner. You performed very well in our head-to-head leadership debate, whatever it was. If there was a criticism of you, it might have been that you're a bit light on the policy detail. I can understand that, 4 and a bit years in opposition, time to crystallise your minds. But what I wanted to do tonight was to try to put to you some of the biggest news stories of the week so far. Okay. So we can get a picture of, if you were in opposition, what would Kemi Playing not be saying about this stuff? Okay. Right? So, look, the biggest story of the week has been the Chris Kaba story, I think. This police officer is found not guilty of murder. Do you think that the police have to do more to prove that they are not institutionally racist? And was the BBC right to say that the verdict traumatised the black community?
So I do not believe in the use of this phrase, the black community. There are many different people who are black, who have different views, different experiences, different ancestry. The idea that we're all, in a club somewhere making decisions together, all think the same and believe the same thing, vote the same way, is nonsense. That's number one. Number two, the fact is that this is somebody who committed some very serious crimes. This belief that you can do things like that and you're still celebrated by others just because you share the color of their skin is completely wrong. It is not right. This was somebody who was a serious criminal, and I think the worst thing is that a police officer had to go through so much just for doing what was right.
OK, so you would actually back Yvette Cooper's decision now to give anonymity to police officers in future if they're...
Yes, I would do. I think that the police today are doing a much harder job than they've ever had to do before. Endless people filming them on putting the videos on social media. You remember the incident in Manchester where it was clipped to look as if the police were the aggressors when actually they had been attacked first. we need to give them some space. Otherwise, no one is going to join the police. I believe in the police officers in this country. I believe in policing by consent. We do it very well. Let's not mix things up with the sorts of things that we've been seeing where people are celebrating a criminal and pretending that he was a victim without talking about all the people who were his victims.
Just on that Manchester Airport incident, I know...
So, Roger, calm down. Let me analyze and you react. Calm down, my brother. Calm down. Just drink that drink of yours. Keep your healthy self. Let's keep the fire hose down for a bit. Let me analyze. Cool. And then you can blast, okay?
Yeah, go on.
So we're going to get into theories of justice today. Theories of justice. But before I do that, I just want to make it obviously clear that the news world today is very different. Now, whereas journalism was supposed to be the proverbial fourth arm of the government to take the government to account, it seems that different media platforms are now expressly and blatantly showing their ideological what they ideologically support. And so it is very obvious that GB News is a right-wing conservative channel that is speaking to someone who's vying for the conservative candidate. And of course, this conversation, as you can see, it's not confrontational. It's like two colleagues speaking because they seem to be in agreement, ideologically speaking, of the issues that you're speaking. And first of all, Chris Kaba, very sensitive situation. RIP to Chris, comfort to the families, comfort to all those involved. It's a very sensitive situation across the board. No matter what your position is on this issue, whether it's Kemi, maybe not. It's to lose. I mean, on a human level, we're all image bearers of God, and loss of life, however, is tragic. So my heart goes out to the family and all those who have been involved as a result. Now, let's get into the ideologies. I want to talk about the theories of justice here. The Conservative Party, Roger, is a party of law and order. Right is right, wrong is wrong. So as you can see, Kemi is like, she's of the belief that the police did the right thing, that right is right and wrong is wrong, and if you do wrong, you should be punished for it. Yeah. Now that's to the party of law and order. But I think something that's also at play is something that has a term that I don't think is even discussed here on GB News is social justice. Now, the purveyors of this ideology or idea of thinking of social justice will say that we need to look at the societal and institutional circumstances whilst making judgments as to how to pass judgment. In other words, to look at the social conditions of a particular environment, to kind of hash out maybe consider it as a factor as to why people they are the way they are. Now, the justice people will say, well, especially the conservatives, they will say that the conservatives actually take the idea of the law of nature from a biblical perspective. I'll also give word to social justice, I'll be fair, but you know how Christians say that the heart of man is desperately wicked. And so conservatives across the board, Jewish conservative, Christians, and even secular say that humans are prone to make mistakes. And so the justice needs to be a method in which you can keep law and order because we are prone to do wrong. So the right-wing people are actually of the belief we are actually basically bad, and we need means to better ourselves and control ourselves because we like to rebel. And there's some biblical, we're a gospel radio show, so there's premise to that, right? So if someone does wrong, and in fact, even the Old Testament says, for example, do not defer to the poor, never defer to the rich, but judge righteously. And also, I'll have to say that in the past, the system in our Western democracies have been affected in such that if you have money, you can get away with any crime at all, right?
Yeah.
But now it is the opposite now, where people are trying to advocate for those who are less well off. But those who are the true purveyors of pure justice would want justice to be as exemplified with the statue of the ladies holding the scale with their eyes blinded, right? But social justice says no. We need to open our eyes and see that sometimes there's some economic. I'll get into also something else, but the economic, first of all, disparities within a society that can cause somebody, right? But also, we also live in a multicultural society, in case you live under a rock, and obviously race relations have not always been good in this country. And some could say that that it's still not where it's supposed to be. And also, another issue that comes with race relations is the issues of police brutality, that apparent, shall we say, and a lot of people have voiced concern that, I mean, we know stories of the past and even in the near present of the
present.
Yeah, police brutality, right? And so
that's present.
And present. Yeah. Some would argue present as well.
No argument. That's present.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are the ideological undergirds at play when I look at this situation. Social justice, pure justice, looking at race relations, the fact that ethnic minorities have suffered at the hand of those who are in authority in regards to law and order and police brutality. And you will have to forgive, the black community that, knowing the history of this country, that when we see situations such as this, that we cannot forget that it can be like, here we go again, right? But then someone who would disagree will say, okay, yes, we understand that, life hasn't always been fair, that the system has not favored one group over the other, but nevertheless, like Kemi said, not my words, and I don't know Chris, but she says that Chris wasn't really a great guy. But guys, like I like to be to be balanced and also human, to say I don't think there's any right wing pundit who celebrates that he died. I think it's they would argue that obviously they wouldn't want this to happen, but they would say, well, the police had to do what he had to. Look, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's sad. It's sensitive because of all the cultural and historical baggage that goes with it. So yes, I'll say that social justice, race relations, plus police brutality. Now, another thing that she said, and I'll pass on to Roger to get on his soapbox, is the idea of there's no such thing as a black community. Now, again, I'm going to be what's the word? I'm going to be neutral in this regard. Now, I see where she's coming from. I think there's this idea that from the I'll say it's yes and no, right? Roger, just I'll pass the mic to you. In fact, this might be a quick podcast, but I'll pass it on to you. So, obviously there is such a thing as a black community, because when there was racial disparities, the people in power were not making a distinction between one kind of black person or the other. Or did you vote for the Republican or the or Democrat? Did you vote for conservative or Labour or Liberal Democrat? It was purely because of the color of our skin that we as a people have been discriminated over a time. And so there is a common experience amongst all us that we all deal with because of because of history and all that has occurred. So in a sense, there is that thing of, we are black and we understand that there is this thing called racism, and we know someone who has endured it. So yes, there is such a thing as a particular demographic that has been discriminated for a time, and we need to acknowledge that there's a community of sorts that has endured it. On the other hand, what Kemi is saying is that not all black people think the same. That even within this thing called the black community, that there's different schools of thought. And might I add that also, just to be fair, that even when we look at, say, the civil rights movement, there was even different schools of thought. You have the Martin Luther King, who wanted to... Yeah, so let me break it down. Let me break it down. I'm joking, boss. I'm joking, boss. So let me break it down. I'm sure you know this. You're watching this. You know this. Martin Luther King believed in trying to achieve integration through peaceful means. Yep. Whereas Malcolm X, the one of the key members of Nation of Islam and then became a Orthodox Muslim, was, yes, I want to achieve what is good for my people, but by any means necessary. And in fact, he says he'll pick up the gun and fight whoever he wants to. So as you can see, there's two different schools of thought here that were under the play, and these two key figures, and of course we love them, they had different ideas as to how to bring about justice and achieve. They had the same end, but they believed in different means. And so I think what Kemi is trying to say, if I could be just fair to her, I'm not saying she's right or wrong. I'll let Roger react. Is that there is the black people. There's not one spokesperson for the black person really, because one black person might think one thing to a different black person. A black Muslim might think different to someone who's a black Jehovah's Witness, or a black Roman Catholic might have a different perspective too. So even within the black community, there's differences. There's difference of the way we think. There's difference of languages. There's difference of culture. There's even different schools of thought as to how to, represent ourselves. And I think, I'm just to be fair, I think that's what Kemi was trying to say. But I think I've said enough, and I will let Roger explain. Let the fire hose out and maybe explain why it irritates you.
No, what irritates me is just her response to black people. She needs to look at a mirror and recognize that she is a black woman. First and foremost, and when you've got people that identify as something what they're not. She identifies as white, and when she's black. End of the day.
Wait. Where did she say? She didn't say that.
But the way she behaves is like. But for me, sometimes.
But she will say, okay. Yeah. So, but
okay. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish. So for me, I'm not saying. Oh, you need to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. The black community has to be monolithic or
monolithic,
monolithic in its way approaches. I would disagree. Let's two disagree, but we're both part of the same community. Yeah.
You
know what I'm saying? We're both the black community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's very. I'm not sure where we are. Predominantly, you have different areas. You've got people that's from.
We're not monolithic, and we never have been.
Never have been.
And I've shown you an example, say, with the civil rights movement. Yeah.
Whether it's tribal, whether it's culturally, whether it's different things, we are different. We are 100% different people. But when we come into a space when we are minority, you know what I'm saying? Like India is a massive country. They all have different areas, different belief systems, different castes, different everything. But when they come in, the Southern Asian community, you know what I'm saying, whatsoever. So for me, I feel like I think.
Okay, do you think she came across as insensitive?
I think she just comes across. I think she's almost wants to come across as a conservative person,
more than a black person.
More than a black person. She, end of the day, I did a video already about Chris Kaba, and if you go into reverse the police car, they showed the video. I say to my sons, when the police stop you, hands onto the wheel, leave it. The video evidence showed that he reversed after they said to stop, and they got guns in front of him. What happened was unfortunate, but then take away from the fact that basically he's involved in crime. The fact of the matter is, even if he's involved in crime or not, if he goes like this, officer, they can't execute, they can't judge him, they can't they can't execute justice like that. Yeah, even if he's a known criminal, you cannot do that. That's out of order. But what they did is he reversed to get out of already being blocked in with police. So he's converted the car into a weapon. They have to do what they got to do. That's the harshness of it, guys. Yeah. And so looking at the video evidence, which was not given to us, and for me, I'm disappointed with the parents of Chris Kaba, knowing the background of their child. They know the child has been misbehaving all this time. Some parents will be like, listen, we're not doing no stands. We're grieving and we're doing our thing. We know our son hasn't done the right thing. Let's get the details first before you convert the community. So that's irresponsible of the parents. I understand the grief like we all do. We don't want to see it. So it's but the thing is, they're using that as a flagpole of saying that, oh, this is always the case. It's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? We get stopped unnecessarily, like the case where the athlete and her husband gets getting stopped. Yeah.
I think stop and search is a very big issue in the country. It's how to do it
because we're black. Whether you are Kenyan, or Afro-Caribbean, of African descent, but enslaved to build this country, and then enslaved again to come over here to build this country after World War II. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the biggest con out there when Rush was, oh, come over here, help us rebuild the country. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject. End of the day, whether we like it or not, we're we're from even different African groups. You could add two Bantu tribes, a totally different type of Bantu tribes that we're coming from. You know what I'm saying? If you trace back my Bantu tribes and whatsoever, so we're that far away, but still we're both black in this space.
So would you say that maybe the reason why people like yourselves might be upset with Kemi is that she does not want to incorporate the historical baggage that comes with situations such as this, because and the reason why I say that is she seemed like she wanted to take the issue in isolation and divorce it from the history, and you as somebody who's passionate about the community cannot divorce it from history. And I think a lot of people watching it, you know, the stories like the unfortunate with Damolola Toiler going way back. And I think she needs to understand that a lot of black people forget the circumstances. It could be like here we go again. And maybe if she kind of addressed that in a more balanced way, while still perhaps holding to a point, it might it might come across. And in fact, it's funny. I was watching and Roger, we might actually react to it. Is Lecrae was speaking to two African Americans. Again, it doesn't. What we said about monolithic, I definitely acknowledge that not every black person thinks the same. So Lecrae sat down with a Democrat and a Republican, both African Americans, who will vote for the two candidates who are running for the U.S. president in a few weeks' time. Actually, in a few days' time.
12 days.
And I think what the Republicans said is my issue with a few conservatives is that they forget that they're black in an aim maybe to get some kind of sympathy. And perhaps what you're saying is this is what you see here on the other side of the continent, where Kemi wants to be a conservative leader and doesn't want her
black
quote unquote blackness to be factored in. And perhaps she feels that if she kind of downplays that and maybe divorces from that she might become more eligible to be considered.
You should be able to be cool in your skin. And one thing, and you know, and I do, and this is not again a generalization. This is just my experience, and I just get annoyed where people from Africa come to this country, and when they tell me off for being annoyed about how this country's exploited the world, because they say that we come over here and we get stuff that is amazing, not realizing Africa wasn't a dump ground 500 years ago when the European turned European to it wasn't a space where people were like, they weren't reading, and it was just, you know, it was a sophisticated community. You know what I'm saying?
Egypt, for example, was a very great civilization.
God, let's go to Zimbabwe. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to the top of the Nile. No one talks about the top of the Nile. You know what I mean? Geographically, the Nile starts in Zimbabwe from the Rhodesia. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It starts from very late Victoria. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at structures, they got structures there that are sophisticated. You know what I'm saying? You know, sophistication was stolen from us. Civilized, not stolen. We would say, oh yeah, look at this. And then they go away, and then they tell the world, oh, we invented it, and then they come and take away from us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what annoys me, I'm not saying we can't come and enjoy this country. I'm not saying we can't appreciate the the blessings out there with this country. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I'm sick and tired of people talking like there's no narrative, but then go on Sunday and talk about the whole narrative of what happened 2,000 years ago, why we're here today as a Christian, but want to ignore the fact that while we're here today as a black person, there is a history to that and why we got here and why Africa is not what it should be and it's exploited to this very day.
So what you're asking for is, let's conclude by saying is, I think what you want, I don't think the word is balance. I think what you want is more honesty about things.
More honesty. I'm not saying that this is a good...
you want more honesty about...
But let's just be real, I've seen the comments already on some of the things I've said, and I've seen the comment going, oh, wow, I grew up in Nigeria, and it was, it was really dark place, and it's not connected to shell corporations and stuff, yeah? It has nothing to do with it. Yes, listen, where people are hungry, if you watch... I'm watching.
Yeah, but I think let me jump there, and I think we'll. Then
cool.
Let me jump in, and I'll let you respond.
Yeah, cool.
I think what the guy from Africa might be arguing is, whereas there is that perspective of Western intervention that has affected where the continent is as well, 100%. That there's also issues within themselves, within their country. There's some cultural and political issues. Just like I explained with what's going on in Kenya. The fact that the president is enriching himself. Again, he's Kenyan as... No, wait, Roger. He's as Kenyan as everyone else, and yet he's against his people and only for himself. So this issue about selfishness and greed and all that, it goes beyond... Because even among ourselves, we don't like ourselves. Let's be honest.
Yes. No, 100%. But at the same time, go beyond the end of it. You flip this the other side, and if Africa was doing to Europe what Europe is doing to Africa, Europeans will be in the same boat, almost killing each other. Honestly, because they've got to survive. You pull away certain things, and you see Lord of the Flies. If we balk at the Lord of the Flies, you got civilized people. When you chuck them on the island and they're hungry, they start to go back to these primal belief systems. But that's where I'm at anyway. So but anyway, I get where you go.
Guys, cool. Thank you so much. We might actually be reacting to the budget very soon. So keep it locked.
Thank you for watching the content we're putting out. Listen, make sure that you are liking, subscribing and following us on all our social channels, including patreon.com. Make sure you're finding us on there to support what we do so we can support you. And remember, guys, be extra.